Listen, the only reason I'm going out of my way to tell you this is because the story, Jane the Killer, is starting to piss me off. My real name is Jane Eversole, aka Jane the Killer. And this is how I met Jeff. The reason I look the way I do and why you want to kill him. When I heard that a new family had moved in across the street, I wasn't that surprised. It was a nice neighborhood and the house was relatively cheap considering where it was. I'm guessing I was about 13, 14 when everything went to hell. I never really talked to Jeff when he moved in. To be frank, I never talked to him until that night. But it's too soon to talk about that now. My first impression of Jeff that he was a good kid. Probably got nice grades, rarely got into fights, maybe even a cool guy if he opened up to someone. His brother Lou seemed like he put family first by the way he sat with his brother on the sidewalk. Of course, I was just guessing at the time and really didn't put much thought into my analysis because I was getting ready for school when I looked out the window. And I was running late, which was unusual for me at the time in my life because I was hardly ever late for anything, especially school. I wasn't surprised when I saw Randy and his goons go up to Jeff and Lou on that stupid skateboard of his. Randy was nothing but a bully. He was always picked on anyone who was smaller than him. He was even the reason why my parents drove me to school instead of letting me take the bus like everyone else. Everyone had their lunch money or some kind of cash to give to Randy and his goons because of some toll that he demanded from everyone. We all knew Randy group had knives and threatened to use them on us when we ever told anyone about the money they took from the other kids on the block. Everyone except the new kids. They were trying to intimidate like the rest of us. When I saw Randy talking to him through the window, I just looked away. It was a wussy thing to do, but I had better things to do than watch another kid hand over his money to Randy. But curiosity got the better of me, and I looked at a few seconds later. What I saw left me speechless. Jeff was standing now, and it looked like Randy already had what he wanted. Just sit down, I thought, don't be stupid. Then I saw Jeff punch Randy in the face and break his wrist. Oh my god, I whispered. Then I yelled out, you idiot! My parents ran down the stairs and asked what happened. Then they looked outside and saw what was going on. Jeff already cut the skinny guy. I think his name was Kenneth. And he went down screaming. Troy only went down with a single punch, since my house was across the street from where Jeff and his brother were sitting. With the front of the house having a bay window, we saw the whole thing, or at least I did. My parents came in after the part where Brandy stole their wallet, so they didn't know the whole truth. It was disturbing watching Jeff fight. He was enjoying himself too much. I felt a knot in my stomach, like something was happening that shouldn't be. And from the look on Lou's face, Jeff didn't do this kind of thing often. Next thing I know, I hear sirens and the new kids bolted out of there. The cops came around with the bus driver to check on the victims. It seemed they were going to be alright. Considering the amount of crap kicked out of them. Since my parents' policy was no cops, ever since my dad got framed by a narco cop when he wanted to draw attention off of himself when police were investigating the case of the missing coke. It ended with my dad quitting the force. So when we heard sirens, we went into the backyard and got into the car and left. When my parents drove me to school, they told me very clearly that they didn't want me talking to Jeff ever. I didn't agree with them. I had art first period, so I didn't see Jeff until close to the end of the school. I can still see colors in my artwork if I think hard enough. But when I try to look at anything now, it all seems gray. I guess that's the price that someone pays for losing their innocence. I didn't see Jeff until that final period of the day. When I did, he seemed off. At first I thought he was just faking the joy or so people wouldn't suspect him for the crime that he did. but he really was enjoying himself. It wasn't because he was excited to be at school. I could tell that much from him. The smile he wore looked sarcastic to me. It was the smile of a madman. The second the bell rang, I bolted out of those doors as fast as I could. Nobody but me knew what Jeff really was. A freak. The next day seemed to be passing without incident at first. Then I saw the police car in front of Jeff's house. Looked like they got you, I thought. Nobody could gotten away with something like that. With the neighborhood watch and everything. But I was wrong. With who they arrested, instead of coming out with Jeff like I expected, the police came out with Lou, his brother. I was barely forming the thought of Jeff framing his brother for the assault when he came out of the house yelling at Lou, tell him I did it. I was able to hear him at this time because the front door was open to my house. I couldn't hear what Lou said in reply to Jeff's outburst, but it was definitely not what Jeff wanted to hear. A few seconds later, the police drove away off with Lou, and Jeff was outside with his mother. A few minutes later, she went inside the house and left Jeff outside. Although I couldn't hear him from across the street, I could tell that he was crying. But who wouldn't be in that situation? The next day, rumors were spreading like wildfire about Lou. It took so long for the rumors to get started because everyone was afraid to talk about Randy getting his butt kicked handed to him. When it was revealed that he wouldn't be coming back to school for a few days, everyone decided to take advantage of that fact and enjoy it as much as possible, and lots of random bull started popping up. I heard Lou cut off Kenneth's arm. So yeah, well, I heard that Lou hit Troy so hard in the stomach that he ruffled up blood. That's nothing. I heard that he punched Randy so hard in the nose that it came out the back of his head, and etc. Personally, I didn't want anything to do with Jeff or his brother, but he just looked so alone and upset that I had to do something. So I wrote him a note telling him that he had a friend in this place, and that I was going to testify at Lou's trial about what really happened. I left the note at his desk, signed with a letter J, before class started. Then left the room. When I came back, Jeff was at his desk and the note was gone. Saturday rolled around and I was home alone while my parents were at work. The kid next door was having a birthday party. At the time, I left my window open because I wanted a nice breeze in my room while I did my homework. But the kids were getting so loud, I decided to close my window. I was about to close it when I saw Jeff playing with the kids. He was running around wearing one of those fake cowboy hats and carrying a toy gun. He looked ridiculous. I had a laugh. Maybe he isn't the monster I think he is, I thought, ashamed of myself for being suspecting he could have been one. As I was closing the window, I saw Brandy, Kenneth, and Troy jump over the fence on their skateboards where Jeff was. Not again, I said to the open window. I saw Brandy and Jeff exchange small talk when I couldn't hear what they said over the sounds of the kids yelling and screaming. Then Randy rushed at Jeff, tackled him. I was about to grab the phone and dial 911 when I heard Troy and Kenneth shout, "No interrupts or guts will fly." I looked out the window again and saw that they both had matching guns in their hands. I couldn't have called for help then without endangering the lives of others. I couldn't have called 911 anyways. The batteries in my phone was dead. Jeff was on his side getting kicked by Randy in the face. When he grabbed his foot and twisted it, Randy fell over and Jeff tried to walk back to the house. When Troy grabbed him by the collar and threw him towards the house, I heard glass breaking, and I knew that they were going to kill him. Randy used as help. I screamed at him, but he couldn't hear me over the sound of the kids screaming. I couldn't wait anymore, so I ran to my parents' bedroom and searched for my dad's cell phone, hoping that he forgot it at home. My heart was pounding in my chest, knowing that the longer it took for me to get help, the higher chances of someone getting killed. I finally found the phone underneath the bed. I wasted no time putting the numbers 911. 911, hello? I need help. There's an emergency going on next door. Some guys jumped the fence and are beating up someone. They got guns. You need to hurry, please. Okay, miss, I need you to tell me the address and I'll send help right away. I quickly told her my address and the address of the house next door. Please hurry. It's okay. Just stay on the line. Bang, bang, bang. I heard loud gunshots coming from next door. I yelped and dropped the phone. It landed on the ground and broke. Then I ran to my bedroom window, tried to figure out what's going on. But no sooner as I poked my head out the window, I heard a swoosh of fire and screaming. I'm going to make Jeff scream like that again. When I find him, the only thing I can compare it to is the death cry of an animal. It was at the time for me horrifying, but now it's a sound like music to me, and there is nothing I want to hear more than in the world than him screaming. I saw the fire spew out of the house like an angry dragon. I ran downstairs and immediately got the portable fire extinguisher from the kitchen and ran outside. As I was running, I popped the pin for the extinguisher and immediately used. Luckily, the door was unlocked as I barged in, but when I saw Jeff, I completely froze. He was lying at the bottom of the stairs, almost completely on fire, with adults trying to pull it out. I saw bits of his skin through all the commotion, some parts pink, some parts charred, but it was all covered in red. At the sight of all this, I screamed, and then I passed out. Last thing I remember is some of the adults running towards me. Whether it was to help me or get the fire extinguisher, I don't know. When I came to, I was in the hospital bed wearing one of those gowns that the patients wear. A nurse came in a few moments later. She had a long brown hair and a bun hidden under her hat. She looked like she didn't want to be there. I asked her what happened. All I know is that you were brought here in with a few other kids because you fell and hit your head on the fire extinguisher, she said, annoyed. A fire extinguisher? I reached up to my head and touched my head. I felt bandages and a large bump on the side of an orange. Then I remember Jeff, one of the guys that came here with me. The one with burns? Is he going to be alright? She said, listen, there was 2 boys that were brought in with you that had burns. And no, I'm not letting you know if I'm not letting you see him because he's your boyfriend. I felt the heat rise in my face. He isn't my boyfriend. I'm just worried about him. Wouldn't you be worried about someone who you saw burning alive in front of you? I tried to keep my voice steadily, but my voice quivered enough to make it sound like I was lying. Whatever, your parents are here, by the way. You want to see them? She asked. Yes, of course. Anything to get me away from that nurse. My parents came in and the nurse finally left. They asked what happened. I told them everything, all of it. I knew that Randy wasn't no good, my mom said. So have you heard anything about Jeff's condition? No, not a thing, said my dad. We just got here as soon as we heard about what happened to you. But who told you? I asked. I didn't think I saw anyone at the party that my family knew. The hospital called us, Mom said. Well, I guess that makes sense. It made absolutely no sense to me, of course. How would someone be able to identify me without having any form of identification? I looked in the doorway and I saw a man and a woman standing there. My parents followed my gaze and saw them too. Excuse me, but this is Jane Erkinson's room? The woman asked. Yes, my mother answered. Who are you? I'm Margaret. And this is Peter, my husband. She gestured to the man beside her. We're Jeff's parents. I sat up in my bed. I'm Isabel, and this is my husband Greg, and our daughter Jane. Mom gestured to me. So you're the girl who ran in with the fire extinguisher, Margaret said. Yes, I replied, quickly embarrassed. Is your son alright? He just came out of the surgery a few hours ago, the doctors said he'll be fine. I relaxed at the thought. That's good. I said, listen, I know what happened to Jeff and Lou on the first day of school. Then I told Jeff's parents what really happened to Randy and his crew. We had no idea that Jeff was capable of something like this, Peter said. I'm willing to testify that Lou didn't beat up anyone. or that Jeff only beat up Randy and his gang in self-defense. No need, Margaret. Lou is being released from jail after what happened to those boys. That's good, I said. We just came to say thank you for trying to help our son, Jane. It warms my heart to see selfish people in your generation. I blushed. I did anything anyone would have done in my situation. I looked down. I'm not a hero. Nonsense, Margaret said. The least we can do is invite you over to our place for dinner when Jeff gets out of the hospital. I looked at Mom and Dad. It would be an honor, my mom says. It's settled then. We'll call you as soon as Jeff gets out the hospital. We said our goodbyes and then left. About 2 days passed and I was allowed to be released from the hospital. During that time I had no contact with Jeff or his family, but I heard that Lou was released from jail and Jeff's wounds were healing. When I got back to school, I became the center of attention, more or less because I was the only one who saw what happened at the party. But the only people I told about what happened were my friends, Danny, Marcy, and Erica. I didn't know what to tell them, so I told them what I saw. Sounds like Jeff got a butt handled to him, said Danny. She had raven black hair with sapphire blue eyes. She was usually the most level-headed of us. Well, at least he went down fighting. I heard he took out those idiots to the hospital with him. Erica snickered. She always dresses like she was from the 80s or something. Long-thighed, high rainbow-colored socks with hair to match, and always wearing some kind of backpack with her. He also took Jane to the hospital. Maybe she was trying to beat him up too, Marcy laughed. She seemed to be the girly girl of the little group. She was blonde with brown eyes, and nearly every time we saw her, she had some sort of pink on her. What color her shirt was, or jewelry around her necklace, and she was one of the biggest drama queens I knew, always stretching out the truth or blowing something out of proportion. I told you, I went over there to try to help Jeff because something was wrong. I remember the plain Jane. Brown hair, green eyes, completely unremarkable look-wise. Or maybe you wanted to see your loved one last time before he left to go get help for himself, Marcy said in her dramatic voice. I looked at her with my eyes inside as of dinner plates. What? You can't deny it, Jane. You have a crush on Jeff. Every blood in my body decided to migrate to my face at once when she said that. What? No, just wanted to help him, that's all. Liar, I saw you leave that note you left on his desk. What was it, a confession of your love for him? No, it was nothing like that at all. I was just... So you admit you left him a note then? What do you mean? I was guessing. She gave me a second little smile and then just waited for my response. The other girls started laughing at me. Jane is only a joke. I was just kidding, Marcy said. Your face is redder than a tomato, Erica cackled. I hate all of you. I both. Oh, stop being so serious, Jenny. Put a hand on my shoulder. Come on, let's get to class.